Hello there. Welcome to episode 85 of Little Big Knits. My name is Selma, your host, Selma Knits on Instagram and Ravelry. And I am coming to you from Ottawa, Canada, where I live with my family and our cat Yoda. She's probably outside. You saw her in the introduction, and maybe if you've been around for a while, you've seen her come around here and there. She is our lovely cat, and she's 9 years old, but still very physically active, and in the winter really needs to play because she doesn't like to go outside in the winter, but in the summer she is actually, even now that the evenings are cooling down, she will come in and want to play with us. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, there's a little cat story for you just to start the day off. So yes, coming to you from Ottawa with another episode about knitting primarily, although I do have a little bit more sewing and a little bit more stitching this time. Again, I seem to be on a roll with those two crafts, so I'll share some of that with you as well. So hello, if you are new, I'm glad you have stepped into my living room to check me out. You're welcome here. Thank you to all of you for joining me for this little chat. It's nice to have a conversation with you. So today we've got a finished object. Actually, we've got a sewing finished object as well. Then I've got, of course, works in progress. And then I thought I would share a little bit about some of the patterns that have come into my life recently. So I hadn't been sharing them as they came in. So that'll be today's episode, of course, ending with a little bit of a update from what's been going on in the last 3 weeks. So there we go. Just before we start, just wanted to point out we have two make-alongs happening. We have the Scrappy Stashy Mal. So that one is a make-along. You can join either of these make-alongs in the Little Big Knits Ravelry group or using the hashtag on Instagram, and I'll sometimes share finished objects on my stories. So we've got the Scrappy Stashy Mal, which is about using a yarn that's older than 2020, December 2020, and leftovers or bits and bobs. So yeah, that's what that's about. And then we've got the LBK for Little Big Knits, LBK Nordic Cal. So the Scrappy Stashy Mal is really, you can use sewing, you can use weaving, anything else, whether it's, materials that you've had around that you're just finally using up, whether they've been around since 2020 or they've been used in other projects. So scrappy projects of any kind. The LBK Nordic Cal is really about knitting and crocheting Nordic patterns or using Nordic yarns. So those are the two things, and both of those have hashtags and both of those have threads in the Ravelry group for Little Big Knits as well. I also wanted to mention, because I never mentioned, that I have two patterns. I'm not really a designer, but I put out two patterns that are, the first one was a hat called the Westboro hat, and you see it in the introduction. It's a bobbly, very simple bobbly, slouchy hat that I've made a few times. And I started it because I just kind of created the pattern to make as a charity hat. And then I was like, I'm in love with this. And so I ended up writing it up. And then I published the West Village skirt, which is really more of a recipe than it is a pattern. It's about making a skirt that fits you. And although I've made it as a sort of straight, short skirt, you can make it longer, you can make it A-line, you can use any materials you want, and the recipe, when you buy it, sort of goes through all of that. So just in case you're interested in checking those out. Now that we are in the Northern Hemisphere heading into fall, I start thinking about skirts because they're so warm, and you could even wear them over jeans as just a warmer layer as well. Oh, there comes Yoda. So yeah, just wanted to mention those two things as well. And well, speaking of Yoda and speaking of family noises, last time I thought I was going to lose my mind. But I know that it probably doesn't bother you as much that there are family noises all over the place, but it drives me a little bit batty. My son is now in Madrid, has been there for a week and a bit. Do you want to come say hi? So he's been away, so you won't be hearing him. Somebody actually commented, "Oh, I'm sorry he's gone. I won't be hearing his footsteps." No, you won't be hearing his elephant footsteps anymore. Not for a while anyway. So anyway, I'm going to see if today can be a less family noisy episode. Well, let's see what happens. All right, let's start, shall we? Okay. Having a cup of milk oolong in this lovely cup that I don't think I've ever shown you. I've had it for about 3 years. A friend gave it to me for Christmas, and it's a lovely little cup. So I usually have my oolong tea in here because you do multiple infusions. And it's a local potter whose name I cannot remember. I think it's Karen Vanderkamp, but I'm going to put it down here. She makes very whimsical pottery. I don't think she has these small mugs in her collection anymore, but I really enjoy her work, and she's part of the Ottawa Potters Guild, so she's always at the sales that they have. And I really, really love this mug. So it's a mug that I drink my milk oolong tea out of, which I'm completely addicted to these days. All right. I'm wearing a finished sweater. This is the DRK Everyday Sweater by Andrea Mowry, and I knit it in Saie wool, which is a yarn company out of Finland. And this is her DK base, which is a 70% wool and 30% linen. And I had bought this, I had bought this before arriving in Finland this spring, knowing that I wanted to make a striped version of the DRK Everyday Sweater. And I am very, very happy with the results. Really, really like the sweater. I think her sweater may be a little bit more cropped. I wanted to just make it a very kind of like relaxed sweater that you would wear with jeans and that kind of thing. So I made it possibly a tiny bit longer. I didn't even really pay attention, to be honest, in the pattern about how long it should be. And did I add shaping? I added just a teeny weeny little bit of A-line shaping, maybe 2 or 3 increases along the body. I believe I did that. Did I? Yeah, just I think twice actually. So really minimally A-line. I've come to realize I actually quite like that, especially when I want a relaxed fit, to add just a tiny bit of A-line, so it sort of flows around the bottom of the torso a little bit more. I was between sizes and I made the smaller of the 2 sizes, and that is something that I've come to realize I like to do with yokes, especially plain yokes, but I think I actually did it with one of my colorwork sweaters last year as well, and then do perhaps like an extra increase if needed lower down to accommodate for the bust and needing more fabric. But that helps to stop with any kind of like overage of fabric up here. So yeah, just really, really enjoyed making this. The yarn was absolutely beautiful to work with. This is the Saie wool out of Finland. And as I said, it is a 70% merino, 30% Belgian linen. The only problem is the blue bled a lot. So it still looks great, but the cream is now actually more of a light gray. So that was a little bit disappointing because I was expecting a blue and white sweater essentially, and now I have a blue and light gray sweater. I put it in the water. It never occurred to me to take color catchers because it just didn't occur to me that it would bleed, and it bled a lot. And I don't know if that's a function of the linen. I'm going to get in touch with her. She's a relatively new designer, or dyer, I should say, and I want her to know that. Because imagine if you got this for a colorwork sweater, that would be very, very disappointing. I was expecting this to be a relaxed sweater, so it's not the end of the world. And I would definitely work with this yarn again, because I actually, right now, I'd have to say this is one of the nicest yarns I've worked with in a while. Beautiful, beautiful yarn to work with. I just really enjoyed it, but I think I would definitely want to use it for a one color kind of thing, because I don't know, I'd be a little bit nervous about the color fastness of it, but really, really like it. It's got, you've got little bits of sort of linen matter coming out of it here and there. So yeah, so this I would say was a relative success. Certainly in terms of the fit, really, really nice. And it's a lovely design by Andrea Mowry. And I still love this yarn despite the bleeding. It's just not the blue and white, crisp blue and white that I was thinking. It's a little bit more subtle, but I'm still going to really enjoy wearing this. And I'm really love the feel of the yarn. It's almost buttery despite having linen in it, which is a very weird feeling. It's strange. You wouldn't expect that from linen, but the combination of these two is absolutely, absolutely stunning. So that is my first finished object for you today. Finished object number 2 is a second bag. I had shown you this bag last time that I have a project in that I'll talk to you about a little bit later. And so I've decided that I'm going to make a few more bags like this to use up yarn, and I just actually really, really like them. So I've already got a couple of more pieces cut. I don't expect to do a tutorial about this. Somebody did ask if I would do a tutorial. I'll show you the cut pieces and tell you a little bit about that. But any sort of basic drawstring bag pattern out there would be great. Mine are, you know what? I don't actually know what they measure, but they're about 13.5 wide. This part is about 7 inches. I'm talking inches here. I'm realizing how weird it is. I'm sort of like half empirical and half metric. So this is about 7, and this is about in total with like going right down to the very bottom about 6, and then another inch for this. I don't know what this thing is called where you put the rope through. So yeah, so I am now actually making a few of these as gifts. Because I just think that they're really fun to make, and they just end up being really fun. So I've actually got 2 here that I just wanted to show you quickly, 2 more batches. So here's a batch that I have not cut yet. I've literally just put them together. And once I have both panels, which I have the second panel here and here, I will essentially cut down to the shortest piece, which I think is this sort of like beehive honeycomb kind of design here. And I'll sort of straighten up the top, cut down the bottom. If there are any pieces that are big enough, they kind of go back into my stash for another project. And this will become a bag, another bag for somebody else. So yeah, and then I have another one here that's been cut already that is ready to go. I think I meant for it to be like this. I'd have to check, I can't remember. And then there we go. So really, really enjoying doing these actually. It's really fun, and it's the kind of thing that I can just do a little bit here and there. I'll go and cut a few pieces of fabric, and then I'll get, enough together that I'll go, okay, let me go and sew these up. And I'm getting reacquainted with my sewing machine, and really, really, really enjoying that a lot. And so those 2 are basically, I have to press the one that's less finished, press it, and then cut it, and then I'm ready to get 2 bags together. So then I got to cut the denim, I'll use up the denim as much as I can. I think this is denim that I'd gotten at a flea market. And then, yeah, make the casing for the drawstring, and there you go. Really, really sort of like fun play with color. It's really great. And I'm really enjoying being back in the sewing game again. So that was a little bit of a finished object as well as a work in progress, 2 works in progress. And before we go on to the whips, I did want to take one moment to talk about striping and joining colors, because I think I did not talk about this last time. Did I? I had made this Tulsa tee, which you may remember, and I had showed it to you wearing it, but I don't think I showed you, oops, there's an end there that needs to get woven in. That's a weird one. I don't think I had shown you what it looked like. So here with this one, I had done all the color changes. Where are the color changes? Oh, yeah, they're on this side here. I had done all the color changes on this back seam. And it was looking pretty rough when I first did it. But once I sewed in the ends, it was fine. And I have to say, I did not bother, because it was going to be on a join, I did not bother with trying to do a seamless, a jogless stripe. I just decided, I tried it first and I just thought, you know what, I'm just not going to bother. I don't think it made a huge difference here, right? Not big enough. And sewing in the ends really made a difference. It brought it all together and it was fine. I'm just going to do a quick wardrobe change because I'd like you to see the jogless stripes on this one, which were a little bit less successful. Ta-da, here we are. So I'll tell you about the sweater in a moment. So here are the jogless stripes. Not as successful. I don't know why. I really, they got a little bit better towards the bottom than they were towards the top, and they're right down the back. So I think the next time that I do stripes, I'm going to try and make sure and modify the pattern so that they are along there and they end up on the side, because I think they would be less noticeable that way. So yeah, so there's kind of like 2 strikes against this sweater. The color bleeding and the supposed jogless stripes on the back, which were a little bit less successful. So I would say that's something that I'm going to need to work on. I've always struggled with the jogless stripe. Other people seem to get it better than me. And I will just have to keep having conversations with people to try and get it, because I just struggle with it a little bit more. So I think that, I think I'm doing the kind where you slip the stitch, the first stitch of the second row after you've changed the color. So there were 2 rows of the cream. So on the second row of it, I would slip the first stitch. But it didn't create a perfect jogless stripe. And yeah, so I'm going to have to see if I can find some good resources to help me improve that for a future striped sweater. And I do like making striped sweaters. They're really fun, so I would like to try it again. So there you go. Just wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about that, because I forgot to talk about that last time. I've moved into a top that I made, I think it might have been 2017, something like that. And it's a top that I kind of fashioned myself. But it is based on a top called the Tulip Top on Ravelry, an older design that was kind of like this, but it has baubles all over it, and I didn't want the baubles. So I did a pattern that is just a very subtle pearl ridge here and there. And then it's got this I-cord thingy all around it with a little bow here. It's just a little summer top. And yeah, I actually haven't worn it for quite a long time. And this summer I took it out thinking, I should wear this. This is really adorable with a skirt. So yeah, I've been wearing it a little bit over the last month. And so I thought I should really show this. I made this out of a fingering weight cotton. It was Marks and Cotton Eco Baby Cotton, I think, that I had gotten in a discount bin years ago. And I finally decided to make this cute little pink top with it. Sort of a bit of a retro look. And yeah, I really like it. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely little summer top. I think I just didn't wear it for years because I put on some weight and I don't know. Now it seems to be fitting nicely. I've lost a tiny little bit of weight over the last couple of months. So yeah, I don't know. Just didn't wear it for a while. Now I'm back in the mood to wear it. And it was a sweater that I had made bottom up and, you know, just shaped the neckline, and I think I did a 3-needle bind off, a reverse kind of 3-needle bind off here. And there you go. It was just a really simple, lovely little top. So that's what I'll just wear this now. All right, let's move on to works in progress. All right, so my first work in progress. My first work in progress is the Pearly Beach. It is from this book Contrasts by May UKP from Finland. And so part of the Nordic, LBK Nordic Cal. And it's this beautiful fingering weight sweater with drop shoulders and this cable and lace motif. And I ran into a snag in this book, in this pattern. And so I had to wait for an answer from the designer. The setup row after the ribbing, I think I showed you the ribbing last time. The setup row took me at least an hour, I think, because I had to be so sure that I was right, and it was not very repetitive. Like, you really had to be 100% sure where you were. So it took me quite a while to do that. Maybe not an hour. Maybe an hour is a little bit of an exaggeration, but I would say it took me at least a half an hour. And then I started the patterns, the different charts, and everything was going well for the first 4 rows until I got to the cable row. And then I was like, this is not right. Something's going wrong here. And I spent probably an hour trying to figure out what the heck have I done here. There might have been a few more swear words in there. In fact, I was in the basement trying to do this, and I came up from the basement and my husband was like, I don't think I've ever seen you quite this upset about your knitting. I was so irritated because I just could not figure out, and I concluded that there had to be a major mistake in the pattern. And I was like, I need to put this aside, but I forgot to clean the kitchen. I had promised I would clean the kitchen. I was going to do this other thing. All I could see was, you know, this pattern, and I could not figure it out. I was taking notes, writing things out. I couldn't figure it out at all. It was driving me absolutely bonkers. And so I thought, well, this pattern's going in the naughty corner. I did write the designer. She ended up taking about a week to get back to me because she was away. And now I understand. And I was reading the pattern wrong. It's right, which is great, because I was like, this is like not a cheap book. And if there's a major mistake, I'm going to be really upset. But it was me, which I'm very glad about. I'm glad that it wasn't the book. And I had put the asterisk in my mind, you know, the asterisk that tells you where the repetition starts again, in a different place. And so, you know, in my mind, this was going to work like this, but it's not quite as symmetrical as I anticipated it to be. So she finally wrote to me, and so I'll get back to this, but it is going to take a little while because I've since started other projects, and I think I'm committed to them right now. So I will come back to this later. But now I've got her explanation, and I was looking at this, looking at the pattern, and I went, oh, now I get it. So I'll just show it to you. I'm making it out of Kettle Yarns Bayul in this, what was the color of this yarn? It was black quartz, and I'm literally mid-row, and you won't see a whole lot here, but there we are. It was going beautifully until that moment, and I was so perturbed. But I've gotten over it, and now that I understand what the issue is, hopefully once I finish 2 things that I've cast on since the last time that I cast on after this, once I finish those, I'll get back to this, because I really do want to have this sweater. I had wanted to have this sweater before I head to Spain in early November. Let's see if that happens, but it may not. The other work in progress that you know of if you were here last time, whoops, is this. It doesn't have a project bag. Oh, and by the way, this was a project bag that my friend Sue made for me. So it's in here for now. I think once the sweater grows, it'll have to move into a bigger bag, but it's in that lovely bicycle bag. So the other one is using these 2 cones. This is the Holst Super Soft in oatmeal, and this is the woolly knit in, was it Morning Frost or Silver Frost? And I put these 2 together, and I'm making the Naturligvis cardigan by Lone Kjeldsen. Now, or Kjeldsen. I haven't gotten very far. The increases on this sweater are actually quite complex. So I finished a section of increases, and now the rate and the distribution of the increases is going to change. And so I've put this aside for a little bit, but it's going really well, and I absolutely love the texture. I think this is going to be a long-term project. I think when I have the space, both in terms of time and energy, and I've perhaps finished one of my other projects, then I think I'll sit down and I'll focus on the next section. And then I think once I get to the division for the body and the sleeves, it'll be a super easy cardigan to just knit on. And yeah, it's beautiful, and I'm really liking the color that these 2 are giving together. So sheepy smelling. It's really wonderful. So yeah, so not a whole lot to say here. I just finished that one section of increases, and yeah, there's increasing on the back and the front. There's increasing at different rates depending on where you are. So it requires actually quite a bit of attention. So that's another work in progress that I did a little spurt of work on, and then I put it aside. Now, I went to the Twist Fiber Festival for a workshop, but I didn't actually do any shopping. I did walk around the vendors in the marketplace, and I ended up talking to Claudia Quintanilla from Eweknit Toronto, who had sent me the beautiful Making Memories book, and I had made a cardigan for my colleague for her baby. So I went up and I said hello, and we ended up having a lovely conversation in Spanish, actually. And soon thereafter, she asked if I would join in on a test knit. So that is something that I have started. I won't show you the actual test knit because she is keeping it secret. It is a sweater, but it is in this little bag for now because it's not very big. I think I'm doing that now, where I'm changing bags along the way. So it's a beautiful sweater with lovely details on it, but I'll just show you the yarn that Eweknit Toronto sent me for the test knit. And it is this Lamina Como. Lamina, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it is an Italian company. And the yarn is made in Italy, and it's a superfine merino in this lovely kind of like gray lavender color, which is just beautiful. And it is a lovely, lovely yarn to work with. It's a DK yarn. And she sent me a large quantity of this, so there may be left over that I can put into a giveaway. But yeah, it's a joy to work with. It's very creamy and lovely. And so I won't show you the sweater, unfortunately. I did want to show you that I've started getting into this needle stopper thing. These were given to me by Jana of the Knitting Stories, Finnish Knitting Stories rather, when I was in Finland, and they're really great. Really, really great, especially if you're working on something that's a little complex, that ripping out would be, or losing stitches would be a little bit more of an issue. A really great thing to, like a little insurance policy for your stitches. So that is on the needles, and this was actually another sweater that had a rather complex setup and beginning. Now I'm in the groove with it, really enjoying it, and wanting to focus on this as well. But when I met with Claudia, she actually gave me a pattern, and it's one that I have been admiring for quite a while, which is the Sara Vest. Now, you know me, you know I like a vest, and there should be at least one vest a year, I think, yes, I think that at least one vest a year. So this seems to be, have I made another vest this year? Oh, well, I did last winter. I made 2 vests. I made 2 Stockholm slipovers, a cream one and a bright pink one. So this is the Sara Vest, which is basically a fingering and mohair combination, or a DK yarn. And I decided to use some leftover yarn. So this is a scrappy stashy project. These are 2 Knitting for Olive, which also fits into the LBK Nordic Cal. Knitting for Olive is from Scandinavia. So I can't remember now, is it Norway or Denmark? One of the two. I had used the merino and their mohair in the Bindweed cardigan by Xenia Nadion, and that I made last year. That was a beautiful, beautiful pattern from the Making Stories. I'll put a picture up here so you can see it. So there are leftovers of this, and I think I have enough for the vest. I'm quite sure I have enough for the vest. So I have started the Sara Vest. And actually, this bag is a bag that I made a long time ago. And here's another bag that I made a long time ago. I seem to be featuring all handmade, homemade bags. So when Sue actually gave me this bicycle bag, she also gave me needle stoppers that were in the shape of bicycles. So, and actually, where did I put that? My friends Paul and Antoine gave me some stitch markers. There seems to be a theme. They had gone to Stephen and Penelope and they got me bicycle stitch markers. These are gorgeous. And actually, I should need to start using them. Really, really beautiful little bicycle. Can I? Yeah. Bicycle stitch markers. There's a whole whack of them in here. Does it say how many? It does not, but which is really great because I don't actually have a large set of stitch markers that are all the same. So the sweater, the test that I'm making for Eweknit Toronto has like a whole whack of different stitch markers, which is fine, but it's kind of nice. So yeah, there's a real bicycle theme happening here, although I have not been able to ride my bicycle once this season yet, but I really should try it out now that my wrist is doing a lot better. So here is the beginning of the Sara Vest, and this is just really lovely, very simple lace. I'm really enjoying this a lot. This is a very potato chippy kind of project that I have going on right now. I can pick this up without having to look at anything. And so it's a bottom-up construction. So right now it's just really simple. You just knit until you get basically to the underarm section. So this is going to be a lovely, lovely thing to make. And also something that I would like to have finished before I go to Spain. I had to go get this. I bought this navy blue suede jacket. It's a blazer from a thrift store. It was such a find. Absolutely, absolutely stunning. I went to Montreal a few weeks ago with a couple of teenagers for Pride. And we ended up going to a couple of thrift stores and I saw this and it's just absolutely, absolutely stunning. And then I happened to be watching Casey of Young Phone Knit, and she was talking about the movies from the 80s and the early 90s featuring Nora Ephron and the fashion of those movies with Meg Ryan, for example, and the blazers with the sweaters underneath and all that. And so I started thinking, maybe I should make something. This is a fitted blazer. It's not like the loose blazers that they wore in the 80s. So I don't think I could wear a big sweater underneath it. In fact, I know I couldn't wear a big sweater underneath it, but I thought I could wear a vest, which was why I decided I'm going to cast on the Sara Vest, and this will be, in fact, the inside of the jacket is purple, and so this will just be a really, really beautiful combination. In fact, I hadn't put it beside it before, but I just think that's going to be so nice with a blouse underneath the vest and the vest with the jacket. So thank you, Casey, for the inspiration, and it allowed me to have that aha moment. I was like, I've got a gorgeous blazer and I should really think about what to wear with it. I think this will look really great with my cream colored slip over as well, my Stockholm slip over with a shirt or a blouse. Yeah, I think it'll be really, really nice, but I don't think I would want to wear like a full-blown knitted sweater under this because it's quite, like, it's more of a fitted blazer. So yeah, so I am excited about finishing this because I think that this and this would be a great combination for when I'm traveling. And yeah, with my wide leg jeans and some boots, it's just going to be great. So I'm very excited about this and really enjoying knitting this. So I'm actually going to be going to Toronto in a couple of days. I'm going to see Sting perform with a friend of mine who lives in Toronto. So I'm going to spend a couple of days with her, and I'm taking the train. I decided to take the train. I could fly, but I just find flying irritating because half the time the flights are delayed. You spend 2 hours at the airport, and I thought, the train I know is 4.5 hours. I mean, stuff can happen there too, but I thought I'm gonna knit on the Sara Vest as well as the test knit and advance these on those back and forth train rides. I have one other knitting project, which is in this bag, my scrappy bag. And I cast on the Kimba Shawl. Now there's no picture on the pattern. Oh, there is. There's one picture. So there you go. I cast this on, and this is another one that is just a really, really lovely, easy peasy shawl. Actually, interestingly, it's a short, the shaping is made with short rows, so really neat. And I am using this wonderful Finnish yarn. I'll show it to you here. Do I have the tags anymore? It's a Louhittaren luola, and my friend Minna had given it to me, Minna Sorvela, who is known as Finfrost on Instagram. And it is a beautiful merino silk combination. There is the tag. And it came in 2 50-gram balls, like that. And I won't have enough, but I'm going to be adding a navy blue as the last color. And hopefully doing some sort of striping to fade in the colors. So I'm going to go from this to a navy blue. I should have brought it down actually, but that's okay. So I started it. This is super easy peasy at this point, and I should probably continue. I'm in the middle of a row in a sense because you're doing short rows, so you're just going back and forth. So yeah, just continuing on with that. So far, really well written pattern. The yarn is beautiful, 50/50 merino silk, and lovely to be using that for the LBK Nordic cowl. So yeah, so that's very funny. I have a small shawl in a large bag, and then I got sweaters in small bags. But anyway, gosh, I love these bags. I just love making them. So those are all my knitting works in progress. After finishing the tea cozy, which you saw last time, I really wanted another stitching project in my life. And I had been to my friend's cottage, and there were magazines at the cottage, sort of like house and home magazines. And I happened to be looking through one, and I saw this picture in one of the displays in the magazine. And I was like, I really like this. So I started doodling one day, sort of thinking of that image of lines going together. And I ended up with this design that I had in my head. Now I'm going to show you, and it's very rough looking. And you won't necessarily, this is like a complete mishmash, but I was doing, where did it go? I was doing some doodling like this. I didn't like that, and I didn't like the lines that connected all the arches, but I really liked this arch theme. So I decided I was doing more doodling on these pieces of paper, and I decided that I wanted to make a bag, would be a drawstring bag. Can you see the drawstrings? That would have those on the side of the bag, on the two fronts of the bag. I hadn't really thought about what I would do on the back of the bag. There was another design that I was kind of playing around with. Here's another design that I was kind of playing around with. So I decided to go with this one, just very simple. Although I'm quite intrigued by that. That could be kind of interesting, where you have, it's a little bit more busy, but I thought it's kind of interesting. So I happen to have another denim remnant that I had also gotten from a flea market. Okay, Selma's starting to lose her voice. And I have started the stitching. So it looks a little bit neater than it did in my drawings, where it was really like that. So I'm on the second arch design, and they won't all be exactly the same. So some will be bigger and some will be smaller. I think I'm going to have space for probably 3, maybe a small one and then a larger one. I don't know yet. And then I'll do more on the other side, and it'll be kind of like an uneven, series of arches. We'll see. I'm just letting it become what it's going to become. And there are 2 pieces of denim. So this piece is obviously the back, and I'll see if I decide to do anything on the back. If I do decide to do something in the back, it would probably be different than what I'm doing on the front. I really don't know. I'll see when I get there. But I'm really enjoying these kind of whimsical stitching. It's really interesting. Something that I learned about myself recently when I started doing the scrap kind of piecing. First I thought I'm going to cut squares and I'm going to do like a patchwork. But I kept having this mental block about that. And then when I decided to just put strips together, it was like the creativity just exploded. And the same thing with embroidery. I've been wanting to embroider and do work, but something has been stopping me. And yet when I got into the Tea Cozy project, and now with this one, it's like the creativity has just kind of exploded. And I think that there are two things. Well, I don't know. Are there two things? Let's see. Well, certainly what I've found is that I realize that exactness is not something that brings me joy. And people are like, but your knitting is so exact. I'm like, my knitting is not exact, actually. I tend to modify things as I go. It's a slow process. I make decisions here and there. I might use a pattern, but I often, decide, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I think that's one of the reasons that although I find them very beautiful, these very complex colorwork sweaters by Marie Wallin would not bring me joy, because I would have to be so adhered to the pattern that I just don't think I would enjoy making it. And I think that exactness and having to stick very closely to something really seems to stifle the creative part of me somehow. But being able to do something that is, kind of like make it as you go seems to work really well for me. And these stitching projects have been just really, really illuminating. I know that I'm a little bit more free in the way I want to create. I know for somebody else, that exactitude just brings them joy. So it's just really interesting. And so I've realized that if I do quilting, and I have to say that I have been quite inspired by this to do some sort of quilting, it will be some sort of scrappy thing where I'm just putting pieces together and then we turn it into something after. I don't think I would ever, at this point, make a quilt that had like a real, fixed design on it, because I think that I find them absolutely beautiful, but I know that I just wouldn't be able to go there. I just can't. It's just not within me. And I think same with, stitching, it's going to have to be a little bit whimsical, a little bit, make it up as you go, not needing to be exact. And so as much as I love sashiko, a lot of it is quite exact. My tea cozy was not, but I just liked being able to go with it. So I think these revelations about myself have been really freeing. And so my work, my crafting life has changed a little bit as a result of it. And it's a little bit more varied. It's just been really great. So I've started this. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where we're at the next time we meet. And I think at the end I will do the same type of thing as I have done on my bags. I'll create, I don't know what this is called. It's got a name, but the shaft, I don't know what it's called, for the drawstring will probably be in some sort of blue and white fabric to sort of mimic this. So we'll see where we go with that. But I thought I'm going to make, it'll be another project bag, but a beautiful medium for just the creativity. And I realized I do have some art in the house that I've made myself, but I tend to like functional objects more than art per se. So yeah, kind of interested to see where this goes. And it's been very, very inspiring actually, and really, really fun to do. Wow, that's all my making. That feels like there's a lot of it. All right, let's move on to the patterns that have come into my life. So in the spring, when I went to the Montreal, what was it called now? Knit City Montreal. That's what it was called, in May, with Mecca and Mel. I got some yarn from Mel in a sort of a peachy pinky, dusty peachy pinky color, and I got some mohair to go with it. And my intention for that is the lacy and boxy, what's it called? The lace and fade boxy sweater by Hochi Locatelli. So I purchased that not too long ago. I won't be doing the fade, but I really like the idea of the strips of solid with the lace in the mohair. I just think it's going to be a lovely layering, light layering piece. So I'm hoping to make that, you know, sometime in the winter, maybe late winter kind of thing. Another sweater that I bought recently, it just came out, and I even have the yarn for it. I think I actually spoke to you about it because when I went to Knit City Montreal, I bought one skein of Cendre DK in the, I don't remember the colorway. It's sort of an orchid pink kind of colorway to go with a yarn that I have, a Cendre DK, to make this sweater, which is the Budburst Tee. Now, you can make it into a tee or you can make it into a sweater. So I think that's a decision that I'd probably make along the way. But I just love this design. I thought that's a lot of baubles. It is a lot of baubles, but I just love the look. And I have thought that maybe I would do the baubles less often, but there's something kind of like this, something a little vintage about that. I thought if you make it into a short sweater, it could be a lovely, lovely piece to wear with, you know, with a skirt, for example. So that's another one that I bought. I was gifted this sweater called the Generosity Top by Sandra Mussons or Mussons. Thank you very much for that. And this is a lovely, simple yoke design that is meant to have stripes with a lace detail in between. I did see in the projects that there was one person that did it all solid, and it was very lovely as well. So that's a nice, easy yoke construction sweater. So really lovely. Thank you for that, Sandra. Another pattern that was gifted to me also, a pattern by Gaia Echo, is the Garfield Socks. And this is, I think certainly the orange is a Garfield orange in the pattern, but it's a very simple sort of repetitive detail on the socks. Really, really nice actually to make as a simple but effective kind of pair of socks. So thank you for that one too. I have been wanting to make the Ilha sweater for a very long time. Since it came out, I favorited it immediately. And recently I was watching a podcast. I believe it was the Knitter's Niche. I'll put it down here. And she had made one. Was it that one? After a while. And I was like, yeah, I need to make this. I need to have this pattern. So I just decided that's it. I'm buying it. And hopefully, you know, in the next little while, I will make it, because every time I see a version of this sweater, I think I need to make that. I need to make that. I really, really like it. So the other one that I bought recently is an older pattern from 2019 by Karina Spencer. And it's the Minimalist cardigan, Minimalist cable cardigan, actually. And you can make it short, you can make it long. And I'm really, well, I actually really like both versions of it, but I'm quite intrigued by the short version. I really like the idea of short sweaters and short cardigans for wearing with dresses. You may remember that I had made the Saltier tee and I made it cropped to wear with this dress, and I was like, I really like this look. So I thought I wouldn't mind making a short version of this Minimalist cable cardigan. I was looking through cardigans and I was like, you know, I really want to make that one. So I got that as well. Rebecca Clow of the Creabea recently had a sale and I picked up the Dornie sweater. This is a lovely unisex sweater, which is one of the reasons I thought, you know, this is a really nice one to have. It's a top-down raglan cable sweater, and it is just lovely. I think I was watching her podcast, and I was like, that's really, really quite lovely, Rebecca. I think I need that. But there are lovely versions for men, so I thought it could also be a really nice sweater to make for Alejandro when I get to his next sweater. So I purchased that as well. My friend Sue gave me a pattern actually just yesterday by My Yarny Corner. And this is a new pattern that has been put out by her friend, and it's called the Puffle Socks. So it's kind of a striped and waffle, garter ridges and waffle pattern, which is I think where it got the puffiness from the garter ridges with the waffle stitch has gotten the Puffle Socks. So that's a lovely one as well. And then Annina Yuti, my dear Annina, just published a pattern called the Plumage Socks. And I laughed because when Annina was talking about them on her podcast, and she had mentioned the word plumage, and then she said, I don't know what to call them. I said, well, you should call them the Plumage Socks. And so she has. And that is such a beautiful pattern with a lovely detail on the front, but then the sort of the rib up the back. I really, really like the way she has put these socks together. Annina makes great sock designs. So it came out yesterday and I just have to scoop it up. So those are the patterns that have come into my life in the recent times that I wanted to share with you. So yeah, there you go. And that is really the end of the knitting content. I think I'll just spend a few minutes telling you a little bit about my last 3 weeks and the things that have been going on here. I mentioned that I had been to Montreal. I've been to Montreal twice actually in the last 3 weeks. I went first for Pride and that was really fun. And then I went again to meet up with some high school friends. Some are living there, some were in the area, and then some of us just moved up there and we had a lovely evening of catching up. We've been trying to get together about once a year. Sometimes we're successful, sometimes we're not, but it was really, really lovely. And then I ended up staying overnight and spending the day with my friends Paul and Antoine the next day and driving back Saturday evening. It was just really, really nice, I have to say. So I had 2 lovely trips to Montreal. We also had a lovely, short but lovely camping trip, actually glamping trip. We were in one of those ready to camp sites where they've got kind of a wooden and tent-like structure. And so we went camping for the weekend a couple of weeks ago and it was lovely, really, really lovely. So I'll be leaving you with footage of that at the end. We did some swimming and had fires, and I was finishing my DRK Everyday Sweater, I believe, at that point. And we had a nice forest walk there, and there were mushrooms galore. Like the mushrooms were out like crazy. I wish I knew a little bit more about mushrooms to know what to pick and what not to pick. So it's best just not to pick if you don't know. But that was really, really lovely as well. I mentioned to you that my son's in Madrid, so he left and has arrived. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I lived in Madrid years ago in the 90s, actually, for 4 years. And so I don't know if I have been actually even more excited than him that he's in Madrid, because it's just been like, have you done this and have you been there? And oh, you must have this. And I have just been like so excited about him being there. So I'm really excited to go to Madrid and Barcelona in November. I'm very, very excited about this. So yeah. I also mentioned to you that I'm going to be heading to Toronto to see Sting, which I'm also really excited about. There's a lot of really fun stuff happening these days. It's been a really, it was a difficult late spring with my arm and then my mom being in the hospital, but it feels like it's, things have turned right now and it's really lovely. So I'm looking forward to that. And then next weekend, I'm actually going back to Blue Sea Lake to my friend's cottage. We tend to go the second weekend of July, which is her birthday weekend usually, and we sort of celebrate our birthdays then, and then we go the second weekend of September. The weather's usually a little different. It's a little more difficult to get into the water, but we do anyway, and we have, if we are able to, we have bonfires and just relax. So I'll be doing that. So yeah, lots happening these days. And it's been a really lovely, busy last 3 weeks with lots of enthusiasm in, or not enthusiasm, but lots of fun and exciting things happening in my making as well as in my personal life. So it's been really, really lovely. Also finished the 6th book of the Gamache series by Louise Penny, Bury Your Dead. Loved that one. And it was kind of a continuation from number 5. I'm really enjoying those books now. And I know my friend Kate of the Hawthorne Cottage Craft would be saying, I told you so, I told you so. Because she kept telling me, you need to read these books. And I really have been enjoying them. I seem to be enjoying them more and more as the books go along. So yeah, really, really enjoyed that. And trying to think of, I watched the 2nd season of Heartstopper, which is a really lovely series about LGBTQ youth in high school. And it's just very, I hope, edifying for people in the LGBTQ community. And it's just really lovely, lovely, simple, nothing terribly dramatic, but just really nice story. So I really enjoyed season 2, just watched it just binged watched it. I had watched season 1 when it came out sometime last year. So yeah, I think that's really about what I have been doing over the last 3 weeks. So yeah, we're headed into fall. We've got a lot of heat right now. We're going to have very, very warm week. So although I was thinking there have been these nips in the morning, we are heading into a stretch of heat. So I won't be putting the summer clothes away quite yet, even though I'm moving more into fall knitting. So anyway, I will leave you there, friends. I hope that we've been able to have a lovely time together. And I'll see you in about 3 weeks and let you know what I've been up to. Take care until then. See ya.
There's a lot of colors, I don't know where to go. See a lot of colors, only feeling blue. There's a lot of colors, lost within a haze. Don't rely on others to get you through the maze. The dreams are not the same for me. Standing by the shore while you're on the open sea, cannot take this anymore. There are a lot of voices drowning in the sea. There's too many voices talking back at me. There are a lot of choices waiting to be made. Too many choices making me afraid.